my fellow Lindenwood Lions, please rise for the president. After this. Sorry.
Coming to you from the LUTV studios, it's Late Night Lions. This week, Jon sits down with Lindenwood President, Dr. Michael Shonrock, as they discuss upcoming changes to the campus. And now, here's your host, John Fisher.
Thank you. You know, SpaceX has been in the news quite a bit lately. The company recently sent a spacecraft up to the International Space Station to deliver cargo, including an inflatable room that, when filled with enough air, will inflate to the size of a small bedroom. SpaceX says this is an important step forward to providing astronauts with inflatable girlfriends. It's been reported that the United States is dropping bombs faster than it can make them. Although the government is slow to respond to the situation, officials have stated that there are plans to create more bombs in order to keep up with the demand. So I guess that means we're getting at least 4 more Divergent movies next year. Oh, rich men live longer than poor men in a study that... Okay, Seth, what are you doing?
Nothing, man.
Nothing? You're scaring me. You're measuring me?
I'm just preparing for next week, bud. Keep your cool. All right, almost. Let's get an inseam.
Ah! No, you get out.
All right, cool. Carry on.
A new study shows that rich men live longer than poor men. Apparently, men in the top 1% can live up to 87 years, which is about 15 years longer than men in the bottom 1%. Researchers said that simply having money doesn't make you live longer, warning that giving someone lots of money won't increase their longevity. After hearing this, Bernie Sanders simply said, "Damn it!" An alderman election in the small town of Leadington, Missouri was decided by a coin toss. 2 of the 3 candidates were tied with 20 votes each, so both candidates agreed to settle in a coin toss. The winner, Misty Dean, won after picking tails. In keeping with this new tradition, the race for Missouri governor will now be decided by rock, paper, scissors, and the presidential election will be decided by a quick round of Russian roulette. We can only hope. Oh. Well, we've got a great show tonight. Our very own Lindenwood president, Dr. Michael Shonrock, is here, so stick around.
Fun fact, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for a day. If you set a man on fire, you'll keep him warm for the rest of his life.
Thank you, thank you. Welcome back. My guest this week is the 22nd president of Lindenwood. Please welcome Dr. Michael Shonrock.
Well, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Much. Thank you for being here today.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think the purpose of this interview is just to get to know you and let students know you, and just it's fun to have a record of who our president is, so we can look back and see where we come from. So first things first, we know you were born in Chicago. And I think the question on every St. Louisian mind is, who do you root for in baseball?
Clearly the Cardinals.
Okay, good. We're good there.
That's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Okay, good. So you came here from Emporia State University, and you were a very successful president there.
You're kind.
And what about Lindenwood made it so attractive to you and made it a good university to come to?
Well, you know, John, it's interesting. When I was with another team visiting on campus for a football game, I came on campus. I was just really impressed. The beauty of the campus, the spirit of the campus, you know, the students. And literally a week later, I get a call from the search consultant, sort of the headhunter, saying, Michael, would you consider this as an opportunity? And so my wife and I literally kind of thought about it. We prayed about it. And after Christmas, we said, let's think about this a bit more. What really, I think, intrigued me is just the people I've met. You know, early on, we've got some fabulous board members who really care a great deal, very passionate about education and passionate about the students. And so really, from the very first time that obviously it was a very quiet search, that I met with members of the board, a smaller group, I just asked myself the question, you know, when you're president, you kind of say, is that a group I could work with? And clearly, their passion for the institution and just their passion for education overall is what attracted us. And then, of course, the longer you learn about the institution, and then, of course, I start meeting other people, it was pretty clear that this is a great opportunity. And, of course, as you noted, this is the closest that I've been to my hometown of Chicago in 40 years.
Wow.
So, long time.
A long time, yes. And I'm kind of the same way when I first got here. You just know when you fit in at Lindenwood, and it's just a great university.
You know, when you walk onto a campus, and when you're a new student or you're kind of looking at it, it's your gut.
It is.
And so my wife and I were driving around, of course, quietly because no one knew we were here.
Yes.
And we just kept thinking, this is really a neat place. What was fun to me is students were waving to me.
Oh, nice. That's great. And you know, ever since you've gotten here, there has been some changes happening, and you know, they've all been pretty positive changes. I know there's been some rebranding. We've changed from Lindenwood University to Lindenwood, and also we've changed from LU for Life to Like No Other.
Yeah.
Could you kind of explain those changes for us, and you know, how they're improving the school? Because they are, obviously, but we just want to know how.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things I did when I first came is I said, okay, what do we say about Lindenwood? Because remember, we've driven back and forth from Kansas and saw a lot of billboards. We had all these different billboards. So the first time I got with our marketing folks, said, let me see a picture of all the billboards. And we had like 9 different billboards. There were 9 different messages. Well, you know, you learn a pretty basic, marketing 101. You want to have a consistent message.
Yes.
So one of the things we did is we got students, we got faculty, staff involved. We worked with a group. We started thinking, what is it we want to say about Lindenwood? And so we'll always be Lindenwood University. We just said Lindenwood because I figured, well, it's like Harvard. Harvard borrowing from us.
Perfect.
Lindenwood. And so we're a very good private school. And I think that the other part was what would really resonate about this place differently than any other place? Because you have to, in this area, they call it space of higher ed. What kind of, in our space, what do we want to say and distinguish ourselves? One thing was clear to me from day one is we were like no other campus. In fact, I think I even said that to my wife one time. And then it just sort of resonated out. So as we start working with it, and I think that really what makes us very distinctive and unique. Obviously today, we're doing stuff like no other institution.
Yes.
With TV, radio, newspaper, with our sports, with our academic programs, the list goes on. And that's what we want to try to do is get people kind of get a little swag about Lindenwood University.
Yeah. That's great. And there's also been a lot of talk about merging the schools.
Yeah.
There's going to be fine arts and communications, I know, is merging. How does that also help the school, and how will that further us into the future?
Well, part is you want to put synergy among different areas. And obviously communication and theater, music, are all those things connect at one point or other. We're also trying to realize that as you go out, believe it or not, John, you will graduate.
Yes.
And you'll only go out there and get a job. And so how do we pull these things together that make some sense? In many ways, it's kind of fun because some of this was the way it was years ago, and they got kind of split off. So I tend to be a big believer, let's look at ways, not just in terms of cost savings, but what makes sense to consolidate in terms of backgrounds, experiences, and really ultimately for the student and for the faculty, so there's better synergy between them. So as we start looking at some things, we start realizing a couple things. One, we had some really small programs. And two, how do we build programs and really kind of re-engineer them in such a way that will help us really to build the overall image of the institution. So a lot of it really became sort of common sense prevailed.
Yes.
What makes sense, what sort of connects differently. And I think the folks have really enjoyed that. It does mean we went from X number to a smaller number. The other part is you can only remember so many schools.
Very true, very true. And I know a lot of the schools are going to be working together now since they are one school, so it'll be very helpful.
It will be.
There is another really important question I think we need to get a hold to. There's lately been a scourge on campus, an enemy of the students, and there have been some attacks.
Oh no!
And actually, some videos of these attacks have gone viral. If we can just take a
I'd
look
love
at
to.
that
Yes,
right
please.
now, and see.
Uh-oh.
They're like guard
She's in
geese.
trouble. She is in trouble. Or the fittest. Nah.
Oh my. We've all had days like that. Uh-oh.
Oh, definitely. Oh, wow. I think that goose has been nicknamed Gandalf.
Yes.
Because he will let no one pass. Now, now, my question is, how do you think we will take care of these geese? Will we get rave alerts when they're attacked?
Well, we're considering that. You know, these are fly-by-night groups. Sorry,
True.
no pun intended. But ultimately, you know, I hope you appreciate our new security measures. We're really trying to take security seriously here. Just kidding. I really think that, you know, now that I've seen this, I'm glad it went viral. I will sit down and talk with the geese. I think it's really a one-on-one situation.
Peace talks.
And the good news is when you talk to one, you're talking to the whole group.
It is true.
And
They all
really,
flock.
there are, you know, once you get one on the right track, they all go the same way. So we're really pretty good.
It's very true.
And we'll work on that. I'm sorry for that. My big question is, I need to check with admissions, are the geese enrolled?
That is a good question.
You know?
And I think we'll look at that.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe we could talk about that in the next segment.
I would love to do that. And maybe
Wonderful.
we can bring in the geese.
Wonderful, yes. So we will be right back, and we're going to talk about some changes coming up on campus, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This week's episode is brought to you by me. That's not funny. Well, I gotta think of something funny.
No pressure.
This is the hardest part of the show.
Thank you. Welcome back. We're sitting down with President Shonrock, and we've got some exciting changes coming to Lindenwood this year. But before we talk about that,
Yes.
I think we should get to know you just a little
All
bit
right.
better. We don't have that much time, so we're going to condense this down to a speed round.
All right, got it.
Okay, so, are you ready?
Yep.
What is your favorite food?
Pizza.
What is your favorite music?
Pizza.
What is your favorite place to visit?
Pizza.
Pizza. What is your favorite movie?
Pizza.
The movie.
Yeah.
Favorite sport?
Baseball.
Oh, there we go. And what was your favorite subject in school when you were in grade school?
I love science. All kinds of science.
Wonderful.
So I did like science a
Wonderful.
lot.
And now we know you. And now if anyone ever needs to bribe you, they just bring you pizza.
That would help.
Okay, good.
A certain
Good.
kind of pizza from Chicago.
Deep dish from what was the restaurant again?
Well, we'll see if they're
Oh,
good.
okay.
Google it.
You got it. Alrighty. So, with these changes that have come to Lindenwood, we've recently acquired Under Armour as
Yes.
a brand. What was it like getting a hold of them, and how will this change affect the university?
Well, you know, we've had a great partner over the years prior too, and part of it is we were trying to look and think about the future of the university. One thing you have to do is figure out where are we, but more importantly, what's on their way to the institution. So I'm sorry, but what's the cool look? We want to be the cool kids. And so what are the things that the prospective new students are looking at and thinking about? And so we brought in 3 different groups. We talked to them. Our athletic folks did a great job. We also want to enter an agreement that had for all of our athletic teams. You know, we have about 100 different teams.
Yes.
So we have a lot of different types of things. So we really want to get together. And so we had some good presentation, narrowed down to 2. And ultimately, I think they just did a really good job. Under Armour, they brought a whole crew of like a dozen people in, showed what they're doing, showed about the stuff they're doing. And frankly, I think that was just one of the things that was very helpful for us, because if you walk around any college campus, I think you kind of see the stuff.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
You
So
just
we
see a little
realized that that would be helpful. And they're working on their brand. They're doing some really cool stuff, by the way, in terms of science and technology with their work too. And so we thought those would be very helpful as well. So, you know, it's got a little swag, and I think folks will like it. Again, we've had great partners in the past, and we look forward to the next 5 years. The biggest thing is, can you imagine the number of uniforms we got to buy?
That is a lot of uniforms. So, another question we had was about the new library.
Yes.
What all is going to be in the library, and how is it going to help students? Because I know there's just a lot going into it, and there's a lot of thought going into it.
There'll be offices, of course. International Affairs is scheduled for that. You'll have online. You'll have our advising in first year, and just a number of support areas that make some sense.
Definitely.
The one thing I think is going to be exciting, it'll be open a lot. They'll have a Einstein's bagel and a caribou coffee.
Yes.
So that should help a little bit. I think it's going to be an open concept. It's going to have the highest level of technology. So
great.
everything is very movable. It's kind of like cool stuff. Literally, the windows you can adjust with your iPhone or iPad.
Oh, wow.
In terms of light coming in and out. But we want to make it a place that's really a destination, and a place that's sort of central for students, and a place you can kind of hang out a little bit. So
Great.
we think that's going to be a lot lot of fun. Again, I'm fortunate they already had a lot of planning, but when we got here, we started doing a little tweaking, which presidents like to do, a little tweaking.
Just a little bit. And I know, speaking of Caribou Coffee, we're also getting changes to the cafeteria and meal plans are coming.
Yeah.
How are those changes going to affect things, and just what all is coming as far as meal plans?
Yeah, well, the meal plans will be much more flexible. Right now, it's kind of like, here's what you eat. And this generation, your generation, is all about choices and flexibility. So there's going to be a certain plan you'll pick from, but there's also what's called declining balance, which is like a debit card. So you swipe and pick what you want. And I think that will provide a little more flexibility. Definitely. Now, I always tell people, you have so many declining dollars. Remember, those are dollars that if you use them all up, you got to put more in. But I think it's mostly about choices, so I think that will help. Certainly Chick-fil-A, people are excited about.
Definitely.
That'll be over in Spelman, where Spelman's going to be more of those type of name brands. Qdoba, I think will be a lot of fun. Einstein Bagel and Caribou Coffee. We're looking at some other types of things down the road. Evans will also go through some development as sort of the all-you-can-eat types of option. In Belleville, our campus, Matt's will be a total redo, and I think provide a much better, and most of it's just about choices, and to give you a lot more flexibility. I think that's what this generation wants, and frankly, so does mine.
Yes. Yeah, as a student, I can say we're definitely excited about the changes that are coming. And, as far as other changes, can we look forward to any, because I know we're changing Butler Library. It's going to be adjusted a little bit. Different. It's going to be used differently. What about any other buildings on Old Campus? Are they going to be refurbished, or is any other changes coming?
We're doing a campus master plan now, John, and that's kind of exciting. The first thing you do is you gather information, you figure out infrastructure, stuff that's not real sexy, but the pipes, the water, all the stuff. And then you have to start looking at how we make use of the facility itself and classroom utilization and space there. Then we start, of course, have gone out, and everyone has their wish list. And so we've got the wish list of things we want to do. So all those things are part of planning. You got to have a plan. And so I think what you're going to see is, Butler, the old library, I think it's pretty darn cool. I walk in, I call it the Harry Potter building. I keep thinking Harry's going to go across someday.
Of course.
But we want to maintain the history of the heritage part of campus, which is important. And so anything that we do in that area, there'll be some other renovations. We really want to maintain and bring it back if we can to restore some of it, not just renovate, because I think it's important to bring it back to its glory time. We've got some new buildings, part of the campus master planning. I wouldn't be surprised to someday see an addition on to Highland and Evans, because it expands some things in use there. We're talking about science and its growth and what that's going to look like in the future. Trying to find ways to have more of a one-stop shop area for our students. Housing always comes up at one point or another. We need to renovate and do some things there. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Long term, we just want to create the best environment because we want you to enjoy it. Want you to have some fun. Yes, we do want you to have fun. We'd like you to go to class too, but please do have some fun. And ultimately, we want you to have that kind of experience that you tell others, because the best advertising we can ask is for other people. And the use of social media, just let folks know about the experience you're having, because someday I know you're going to be highly successful. And someday when you're highly successful, I'm going to call back and say, John, now that you're so successful, I'd like to name this building after you.
That'd be great. Yes.
And here's and this is what I need.
You got
So we need to expand and build those relationships long term. This is an amazing place and an amazing campus. It really is like no other.
It is like no other, and we're really excited. I know, speaking to my friends, we're really excited to see the changes. I know change sometimes can be scary.
Yeah, it is.
But seeing the changes that are happening and that they're all positive, no one's trying to get rid of anything. We're just trying to improve on what's already here, which is great. Where do you see, with these improvements, where do you see Lindenwood in 5 years?
Well, everyone keeps asking me, what do you think in the next 5 or 10? I'm a futurist, so I tend to think about 25 and 50 and 100 years out. We're planning for 2027, which is our 200-year anniversary. In the next several years, you're going to start seeing certain development, facility-wise. I think you're going to see some of the programs. We need to work even harder on getting our academic image and our reputation as a very, very good, which we are, an academic institution. So you're going to see a lot more about that. I think we're also going to start looking at how we sort of organize certain types of things in terms of your experience on campus. As you might have heard, we're making a little bit of a change with respect to visitation.
Yes.
And just making it consistent. But we want to hear what you think. as students. And remember that the generations, each one's going to be different. So I literally, along with our staff, I'm saying, as we talk about the incoming students, I'm asking, what are 4th and 5th and 6th graders thinking right now?
Yes.
Because that's going to provide us an idea of what we need to be thinking about next.
That's wonderful.
And so we've got to be thinking well in advance. And thank goodness you understand technology, because someone's going to have to figure this out.
Mm-hmm. And one final question for you. When you're thinking of prospective students, what is one thing, like immediate prospective students, what would you want to say to them and tell them how Lindenwood is like no other?
You know, we've been doing a lot of work with Gallup, and they do a pretty good job with surveys, as you know. And one of the things we've learned and recognized is the value of the relationship with the faculty member and staff and across the board. But that relationship, it can be a multiplier 3 and 5 times of their being successful in life, being healthy in life, and having a very successful job and being promoted. And so one of the things I want prospective folks to understand, we're going to be at the cutting edge. We're not going to talk about best practices. We are going to be the next practice of higher education. We're going to do it differently. We're going to do it better. We're going to do it faster. And we want you to go out there and be as successful as you possibly can, because we want you to get out there and make a difference in the world. Not just in this area, but in the world. And you will, because see, someday you will be in charge. And I want you to be as prepared as you can. So for a prospective student, if you want to go to a place that's going to care about you getting to the finish line, graduating, that's Lindenwood University. And we want to prepare you better than anyone for whatever that future occupation is going to be. The best thing I'd recommend is go to a commencement, even if you're not ready to graduate. Just go and see the excitement on the faces of the students and their family members. That's what it's about, the end game.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Hearing
thank
you
you.
say that is wonderful to hear. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely.
And next week will be our last episode of the season. We're going to look back at some of our favorite memories from the show. And what were your favorite moments? Tell us on Facebook and Twitter. Links are posted below. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for being
it.
here. Thank you.
Well done.